for coming, and thank you for this workshop time we can be together. And I wanted to also say thank you to all of the people who made comments on my duck story and the kindness that was shown. I very much appreciate it. And I also want to start to say I am in 2 classes. One is the digital writing, and it's really talking about modern allowances. So this is constantly on my mind while I'm thinking about also writing fiction, which is not really why I'm taking this class, because I'm taking this class to do art therapy. And I got to stick to my notes or I'm going to ramble. So the idea of the lens of the artist, the storyteller, how to use story for healing, and this is filtered through this little chart. I don't know if you can see this chart. And this is called the ETC, and it's done by Lewisburg, and there's just different levels, sensory, kinesthetic, and just things that have tangible. So like, for instance, writing a scene is very black and white. You have a house, you have a tree, and so for me, when I'm thinking about how to use fiction storytelling, how am I going to use it with therapy? So I'm constantly thinking of this rather than thinking of what to write. I apologize. And then thinking of the tools of writing and how those tools have very specific things, a theme, a tone, all these things, first of all, are very new to me because I'm not a writer, I'm an artist. And so then thinking of someone posted, how do you come up with a theme? Well, this is kind of how I work. I work in Venn diagramming and like thinking of like, what is a story, all these pieces, and then how do I break them apart? How do I dissect them? And I don't know, is it the left and right side of your brain? And I don't know. I just wanted to say that. And then also the idea of story is an invitation to play. And there's like a really heavy rule book, and I don't know about this rule book. So I just wanted to say that I very much like learning about the rule book, but I also like the idea of play more. And when I was doing my little chart here, there's like play, and then there's like rules, and then there's like your house rules, the rules that you use with your family or with your friends. And then why do we play? We play maybe to leave reality, definitely for fun, but then also to connect with other people. And then that's kind of where somebody said, it seems like a play. Yes, definitely, the theatrics of a stage. And I was thinking of these things while I was working on my story. And I also feel like I've shown up to play, but I'm not really sure. So I feel like this last week, it was all about having a warm-up. Like, we're at the softball field and we're like tossing this back and forth. And I wanted you to enjoy it for what it was, which was just to play. And in my story, the idea of a seed. Like, I want to plant these little seeds of self-care. How do you take care of yourself? And also this idea of spiritual connection, how it reaches through time and space, that time and space are not a boundary. And speaking of time, the little digital Mickey Mouse, I loved using that because in this movie we had to watch for Drama of Diversity. In the film, it was a day of these boys and what happened in their day, and they put digital time on there to show it was like 9 o'clock in the morning, 10:15, and it's like throughout the movie you're like, what? It's only 1 o'clock. Like, the day just took longer because they kept holding the time, and so I wanted to use that and play with that because I liked how it felt from watching that movie. And then just the idea of room to laugh. When you're grieving, people don't want to say things to you, or they don't want to make you laugh. And maybe, so the idea of room to laugh when it may be inappropriate. And then finding the flow, like when I'm in the studio, like I get working and I get to a place and I get to a place where I don't want to stop. I just want to work through it. And so with this story, the duck story, I never got to that phase. And in this story, I definitely felt like, oh, and I could write and I could write and I would write, and it felt really good and cathartic. The idea of humanity, I guess I wanted to write on the board, like the idea of a seed, and then the idea of self-care was definitely the first one. And then the second one is humanity. As humans, we all connect with food. We all connect with understanding death and these things that are going to happen to everyone. So I just like to put the idea of humanity, ancient wisdom with modern technology. And then I know a lot of people are upset about my little fragment thingies, brackets, I guess they're called. And it was meant to physically slow you down. The first line, it was Latin, tuere, to watch or to guard, and that was to stop you before you even started, because when you're going through grief is like you don't get the chance to go back. You have to like just keep restarting your whole day, and that's just what it feels like when you're in this kind of season. And then the other idea of pilgrimage, collecting universal tools. As we're going through this life, we're all collecting things that we can use to help others. We're collecting things that maybe somebody needs to hear or needs to know about, and what we're putting in our stock pot, like the idea of we're putting all these things in our soup, but what is necessary, what's not necessary, and mindfulness and being aware of others. And then I guess mostly this story for me was to play, just to be able to write something that my muse was not being very generous. It was being very greedy, and it would only give me like 5 things to write about: death, food, colors, my family, very personal things. So I had to take those things and use them the way to make this story. Anyways, I just wanted to say that, and I also would like to ask for you. I've given you the ball, you've given it back, and now I'm handing it back to you, and I want to know how far you will play. How far? I know it's busy and we're all quarantined and it really stinks, but I just wanted to offer, let's play. So anyways, have a great weekend, and sending love.